And good Tuesday morning. Welcome to episode 20 of the Inside Drive podcast. Excited for my guest today, Coach Bradley Stanford, owner operator of Clutch Athletics, joining us today. Talk a little college football and what Clutch Athletics is all about and how you can give your kid the edge in sports should you be looking for it. But first, as always, got to go through our sponsors. I'm going to mention a few other things too before we get started with the interview. Golf Plus, our big sponsor. We appreciate Alan. I know he's got the new simulator open. They got new floors, doing a bunch of renovations there to the store. It looks great. Go check it out. They're still doing their big shoe sale. All the shoes are right there in the front. But again, they have another simulator now, so they have two. So the opportunity to get fit and the opportunity to do some simulator time and play golf courses all over the world has now doubled. As you guys know, Golf Clutch is featured in Golf and Golf Digest magazine as some of the top club fitters in the country, and they certainly deserve it. Like I said, their fitting studio and simulator booths will blow you away, and their selection of brands and models of clubs, they have everything you could possibly want. The repair shop, too, if you got any broken clubs, anything that needs to be fixed, they can get it done for you and get it done ASAP. Golf Plus is located right there next to Firefly in the Edgewater Shopping Center. You can give them a call at 850-249-2726, or you can go online at golfplusretail.com. If you want to book a club fitting or some simulator time, you can do that at golfplusretail.com as well. And, of course, we got to give a big thank you to Panhandle Credit Union. The quality relationships they have with our community is what Panhandle Credit Union is all about. Whether it is sponsoring an event, donating to a cause, providing loan options, or setting people up with great banking products, Panhandle Credit Union is here to serve those who live, work, worship, or attend school right here in Bay and other surrounding counties. Together, Panhandle Credit Union builds community. Visit panhandlecu.org or swing by any location to join. All right, before we get going, I do want to give a quick, I don't know if it's really a shout out, but just want to mention the country of Jamaica. Prayers for everybody there. Obviously, Hurricane Melissa is one of the strongest hurricanes on record, and hopefully, the loss of life won't be too dramatic over there in Jamaica. But yeah, that thing I think made landfall maybe 30 minutes ago or something like that. But just wanted to mention we're definitely keeping the people and country of Jamaica in our thoughts and prayers. Also got to give a shout out to our American Charlie's Athlete of the Week, North Bay Haven volleyball player Addie Gorman. In their first two playoff games last week, she had 16 total kills and just played fantastic throughout those games. North Bay Haven will continue their playoff run, I believe, tomorrow or this afternoon. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. But again, congratulations to Addie Gorman. We appreciate American Charlie for being our sponsor for the Athlete of the Week competition. They give a $50 gift card every week to one of the Bay County high-performing athletes. Again, want to thank Dave Trepanier and all the people at American Charlie's. Go check them out. They are closed on Tuesdays, but they got lunch specials almost every day. And don't forget, military and first responders gets discounts every day as well, as American Charlie is all about good food, God, and love of country. Again, one more time, we appreciate American Charlie being our Athlete of the Week sponsor. Real quick, before we get to Coach Stanford, did want to mention a couple, an update on the big gambling thing with all the NBA players and the Mafia. KG, or not K, I don't know why I keep saying KG. I think he's involved as well. But Antonio Gates, one of the best tight ends to ever play the game of football, has been reported. Hall of Fame tight end Antonio Gates hosted and participated in an allegedly fixed poker game in Miami. So more stuff keeps coming out. This game was organized by Curtis Meeks, who was indicted Thursday by the feds. So more and more big-time names showing up and getting brought into this illegal gambling thing and this crazy mafia-run poker ring where they take, I think it was about $7 million that they have taken from people that have went into those games and had no idea what was going on. Coach, did you watch that World Series, or did you make it to the end of that World Series game last night?
I did not make it to the end.
Either did I.
Unfortunately, I saw some highlights this morning. Freddie Freeman getting it done again.
Yes, Freddie Freeman walking it off again in the bottom of the 18th inning. One thing that was kind of crazy from this game, I believe it was in either the top of the 13th or the bottom of the 13th, a lot of Fox affiliates, including our Fox affiliate here locally, ran Young Sheldon episode right in the middle of the extra innings. I believe it was 17 minutes that it ran for before they got back to the game. So needless to say, a lot of people were pretty upset and disappointed, a lot of the local Fox affiliates. I'm sure it was just some kind of programming error where it was set to run and somebody did not, preempt it because the game was still going on. But one of the big names from yesterday's game is this may go down as the Will Klein game on a super team with $300 million plus contracts all over the field. It was the last guy in the bullpen making the league minimum who had been released by 3 teams who started the year in the minors and was left off the postseason roster until the World Series. I think he pitched 4 innings and got, a bunch of people out, and they almost went to Yamamoto. He was warming up in the bullpen. And of course, Shohei Ohtani does it again. He was 4 for 4 with 2 home runs, 2 doubles, 3 RBIs, and 5 walks. The first player, I believe, in MLB history to be walked 5 times in a regular season or postseason game. And then, as Coach Stanford mentioned, Freddie Freeman in the bottom of the 18th walks it off for the Dodgers. They take a 2-1 lead. Who do you think is going to end up winning?
I think the Dodgers are going to keep going. I think that I think the Blue Jays will probably get one,
steal
maybe
one more
2
up there
more,
in
but
Toronto.
I think 2 more is pushing it. I think the Dodgers probably get it done in probably 5.
And that would be in Toronto for the final game.
Yeah.
So yeah, because is it tonight that the game is on, or is it they got a game a day in between? I could look that up. I don't really know that
Yeah,
one off
I don't
the top
know
of my
if
head.
it's a travel day or not.
'Cause I know they usually stick it in between the.
I know that I think I read that Freddie is now the first person in MLB history to have 2 walk-offs in the World Series, 2 walk-off home runs in the World Series.
Yeah, I saw that too. That's a pretty crazy stat there for the former Brave.
Yeah.
But yeah, they play again tonight, 7 p.m. right there on Fox. Hopefully, they've got all the later programming preempted so they don't air an episode of Young Sheldon again.
I do like Young Sheldon though.
It is a pretty interesting show. Liam loves that show too. It is certainly entertaining. All right, Coach, let's dive into it. You are the owner-operator of Clutch Athletics. Tell everybody about your history with coaching kids and helping develop youth athletes.
Yeah, so I was a teacher, mostly a PE teacher for like 10, 12 years. Getting to with being a PE teacher, getting into then athletics. I coached a little bit, assistant coach high school baseball, and then a lot of middle school sports. Coached middle school basketball and then middle school track as well. And then kind of made the transition a little bit over into the private sector. Quit my job as a teacher and then dove headfirst into this to where we got some homeschool classes, some PE fitness classes going on with some homeschool students, and that's awesome. That's a lot of fun. And then some after school and then some team training stuff of strength and agility. And then also have just started a website to where have a monthly payment on that to where you can kind of some little on-demand videos that you can
That's cool.
do when you can't make it to my class, because it's very set times on those class times that if you can't make that for a small monthly payment, get in there and you could have to where a whole like a coach gets it and they're like 3 to 6 minute videos that going through all the movements and the structure of the workout and then you could run them with your whole team, things like
Nice.
that. So or if you're just looking for your young athlete, want to give them that edge and you can't make class times, the website having those videos is a good way to go as well.
Very cool. What are some of the things you guys focus on with your training?
So it's kind of all around like full body. Like we really focus on the agility aspect, the high ankle rebound, trying to get on and off the ground and not being stuck in quicksand. So there's a lot of work with building up that ankle strength. But then it's full body workouts to where we're kind of getting a full metcon, the metabolic conditioning, to where we're going anywhere from 8 to 20 minutes of a full body workout each class, things like that. And we're using all kinds of equipment, dumbbells and kettlebells and slam balls and sleds and plow boxes. We get it done. We have a lot of fun, but we sweat it out. We get to work.
That's good.
Yeah.
How important is this type of training for a young athlete to get better at whatever they want to do?
I think it's huge. I think it's really good because unfortunately, there's so many athletes these days who have gotten so narrowly focused on a sport so quick and don't diversify their kind of their sports portfolio a little bit, to where you're moving in the same directions the whole time that you're doing your sport, whether it's, think about baseball and your baseball swing,
Yep.
and you're kind of that same rotational swing the whole time, and we're creating body imbalances and things like that. So not only are we keeping the legs underneath you late in your games, your fourth quarters, your sixth inning, seventh innings, your fifth set in volleyball, things like that, to where you still have that energy to keep going, but also we're correcting some imbalances that you might have from that sports specific moving over and over and over when we kind of focus in on one specific sport.
Which is why a lot of coaches like to have, athletes that play all sorts of different sports, because like you said, you kind of get stuck in that repetition and those muscles will fire that way, and to get them to try to move in different directions, it's tough. So this is kind of hearing you talk, kind of like a different option rather than playing multiple sports, which I'm sure playing multiple sports is just as good, but this is a way to move your body differently than the main sport you're playing too.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's a little bit more of, we're doing that. We're also building strength, and we're building stamina a little bit more than just sport specific training, to where, you're just hitting balls over and over, fielding
Yep.
ground balls, or you're working on your serve, or, whatever. Like, we kind of take the sports equipment out of it, and we focus on kind of training the body a little bit more.
Absolutely, which is, so crucial for, to continue getting better as just an athlete.
Yeah, injury prevention, flexibility, mobility, all is going to directly translate onto your field, onto your court, things like that.
Absolutely. And are your programs geared for any level of athlete?
Absolutely. Yeah, I have kids that come to me that this is their movement. This is their, like I said, I do kind of homeschool PE sessions, to where we play some games, and then we go into the workouts and things like that. And I have students there that even though they're homeschooled, they play on some varsity teams. I got a varsity soccer player for North Bay Haven. I have some athletes who go and they play sports, but then I have some that they're literally just there for general fitness. They're there to move their body,
Gotcha.
to build that coordination and fine motor skills. And then all the way up to, like I said, those ones that are varsity athletes, and going and playing at their game, their sport, at the very top of their level.
Awesome. So open for anybody, if you're just trying to get some fitness, or if you're trying to get bigger, stronger, faster, more flexible, doesn't matter what you're looking for. Clutch Athletics has got it for you. I've talked a lot about with other coaches, all these travel ball stuff where, it doesn't focus as much on development as it is playing games and, going to these tournaments. Cause let's be honest, travel ball circuits, the organizations are their job is to make money. Yep. They're in business to make a profit. So you kind of fill, in my opinion, kind of that quote unquote gap, especially for the travel players. If all they're doing is playing games, whether it's soccer, baseball, football, etc., this is kind of a nice, addition to, if you're just playing games all the time, this is a way to get those developmental reps in.
Absolutely. Yeah. I feel like it fills in a few gaps. It also fills in the gap of trying to get to that next level, that rec ball player that is interested in trying to get better and get to that next level, to maybe make that travel ball team and things like that. You got to put in that extra effort. Everyone's going to practice, right? Everyone's doing the minimum.
Yep.
If we want to get better, if we, whether that's, whatever level that is, if you want to get better, if you want to make it to that next level, it takes a little more. It takes a little more training, a little more effort.
The extra mile. Absolutely. Because like you said, practice is just the minimum.
Everybody does that.
Yep. So this is a nice addition to, and you're seeing more and more of this kind of stuff, in my opinion, where you're getting more specialized training for specific sports. But this is such a nice, you're getting specialized training, but it's just for your overall fitness and athletic ability. You're moving all those needles at once, which I think really makes you guys special. I know you kind of mentioned it, but talk about the different programs and time slots you do offer. I know you do have the homeschool for PE for kids, and then you've also got the the video membership where you can do workouts and stuff like that. But what about like, your specific time slots, at your facility?
Yeah, so we're located inside of Panama City CrossFit. We have a Monday, Wednesday, Friday class through Panama City CrossFit that is kids CrossFit. That is, like I said, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from that 3:45 to 4:45, that after school time. And then my Clutch Athletics, we have some homeschool sessions every Tuesday and Thursday. There's a 9:30 session and then a 1 p.m. session. And then we have an after school session on the Tuesday and Thursday from 3:45 to 4:45. And then I do have very minimal time slots for like some personal training or small group or even team sessions. But then, as always, you can fill in any of those gaps with the online kind of on-demand course as well, to where whether it's one athlete, whether it's a coach or a full program that some of these baseball programs that are 4 and 5 teams under one umbrella, you can order the program and have an actual workouts that are designed, programmed by certified personal trainers that know how to kind of put together a full program instead of just a coach that is telling you to do some burpees and run some laps. You know?
Absolutely. So, so you guys got the individual all the way up to a full team training, which, covers every basis you could possibly want. If somebody wanted more information or to sign their child up for some of these sessions, what do they need to do?
Yeah, so I have a Facebook page that's just Clutch Athletics on Facebook, and then an Instagram, which is Clutch Athletics PC. And then in the bios of both of those, you can find the website. If you're interested in the online program, it's going to be through the website. But then if you're interested in those class times in some personal training or small group, the best way is just to DM me through one of those, through the Facebook, through the Instagram, is the easiest way to kind of get a hold and to get more information on those classes.
Perfect. And we'll share some of that stuff later on today as well on our Facebook page, so you guys can get to that information just a little bit quicker. Pretty cool to see how much your business has developed over the last few years.
Yeah.
Obviously you're doing something right.
Started with just a kind of summer program while I was still teaching, and it just evolved to where it was kind of like, man, I could actually do this kind of full time, and kind of had a decision to make.
Yeah.
So
pretty cool decision to have to make.
Yeah.
To have that kind of support and stuff. Was it a very high demand for something like this in our county? Did you kind of feel a void or something like along those lines?
A little bit, yeah. It was, but honestly, the main kind of the kind of over the edge moment was the realization of just how many homeschool students are in Bay County.
Gotcha.
And that was,
who aren't getting PE and that kind of
exactly
stuff. Yeah.
the kids that were coming in, especially in the infancy of Clutch Athletics in the first year, was, kids that were their PE was 30 minutes of going outside in their backyard and picking up leaves and like trying to turn it into a science lesson and things like that, and weren't really getting a full program, and something that is, like I said, put together by I'm certified PE teacher, certified personal trainer, to where it could really benefit and put a whole program together for them.
Win-win. You're doing something you love, and kids in Bay County are getting the benefits of learning, training, getting in better shape, all that stuff. Do you guys do anything with like nutrition or anything like that?
We, not myself personally, we have quite a few nutritionalists and nutrition coaches at the gym and things that we can kind of
Awesome.
hook you up with. And I've had quite a few athletes that I've kind of pushed in that, or not pushed in that direction, but they've asked, and so I've gotten them in contact with
Awesome.
with those people. So I have those contacts as well.
Obviously, the food we eat is a huge topic in the United States, and that's probably one of the most overlooked things when kids are developing into sports, is how much it matters what you're putting into your body. So to have that as an option to help them out as
overlooked
well as
and probably most important.
Yeah.
How you fuel your body is how you how you get the energy out of it.
Absolutely. Let's pivot topics here a little bit. Obviously, congratulations on all your success.
Thank
Pretty
you.
cool to see you go from business from scratch to doing everything you're doing now. Speaking of businesses, the business of college football is getting pretty crazy right now. With the recent firing of Brian Kelly, college football teams are now on the hook for over 169 million in buyouts so far this season, with Brian Kelly's 53 million leading the way. I believe that was paid by a private donor. I think I read that.
I saw that.
I think his buyout's like what, $8 million a year or something like that. It gets paid over the next however many years that
Yeah, I
is.
want to say it's just under $1 million a month.
To not coach college football.
Yeah.
And then second on the list was, James Franklin at $49.7 million. And then Billy Napier, near and dear to your heart, was $21.2 million. Did you think firing of Coach Napier was the right thing that Florida needed to do?
I did. Absolutely. When you watch all of the games and when your side of the ball that you coach is the problem, and your kind of stubbornness to
Yes.
make the change as far as like you getting out of the play calling
Yep.
and you becoming more of a CEO. I definitely felt like it was something that had to be done, and I was one of the later ones kind of holding on, and because he is a good guy. He is he did do a lot for our program as far as outside the lines. But yeah, when it's your side of the ball, when it's your bread and butter that is the problem, I definitely think that
Changes
that
have
it
to be
was
made.
time.
Do you think he was in over his head when he started at Florida?
I mean, possibly, maybe. I know that.
And that's kind of a loaded question.
Yeah, I think that the autonomy of not having anyone over top of you that is willing to tell you that you need to make a change, and because
Yeah, hold you accountable.
he was fired before from Clemson from their offense coordinator position, so like he had D1 experience as far as an offense coordinator and calling plays, but he was fired from that position, and so not having anyone to force him to kind of get rid of those duties and hire someone else. I think his own stubbornness was a little bit his downfall. And I honestly think that Scott Strickland having made the hire and then us having an interim president and basically not having a president,
Yep.
almost kept him there. Probably should have been done the first bye week we had, honestly.
Because there wasn't anybody there to make that decision at the time,
Yeah.
essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you guys go to next? I know the talk of the town right now is Lane Kiffin, but
For me, it's Lane Kiffin. I think that he fits what is successful at Florida.
gotcha.
If you look at the coaches that have had success at Florida, he's even came out in years previously, not like in the past few weeks, but just how much he admires Steve Spurrier, how much he has almost mimicked his coaching style after Steve Spurrier, and the visor and kind of the comments, the kind of digs at other coaches, and I think that his attitude, his personality, it fits right alongside of Steve Spurrier, of Urban Meyer, of the coaches who have shown to have success at the University of Florida. So I definitely think he is number one on the list. Unfortunately, it seems like Eli Drinkwitz is number two, and I'm not a fan. But it gets a little squirrely after that, because you have coaches that have success, but have success under one quarterback.
Yeah.
And it's kind of that Jimbo Fisher kind of aspect, as far as, you can pretty much say that, he got $100 million off of Jameis Winston.
That's completely fair.
And what did he do after Jameis, except for get a big contract and then a big buyout? So you have like people like Brent Key, who is at Georgia Tech and who's doing awesome. And I wouldn't mind Brent Key at all, but then is it Hanks King or is it Brent Key? And so you have to look at, I like the fact that Lane Kiffin has done it with multiple quarterbacks.
Absolutely.
I think that's big.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that's a great point, because there's a lot of coaches that have had a year or two of significant success because of a single player.
Yep.
And that Jimbo Fisher comparison is absolutely perfect. Some of the other coaches and their buyouts to make up this $169 million in buyouts owed so far this season. Mike Gundy from Oklahoma State had a $15 million or has a $15 million buyout. Sam Pittman from Arkansas, 9.8. Deshaun Foster from UCLA, 6.43. Brent Pry from Virginia Tech, 6 million. Trent Bray from Oregon State, 4 million. Trent Dilfer from up there at UAB, 2.4. And last but not least, Jay Norvell from Colorado State, 1.5 million. Who's your next coach gone in your opinion? Obviously, Brian Kelly was on that hot seat, and they
Yep.
decided to make the move after they, gave up that game. They were ahead in that game, if I recall correctly, and then Texas A&M scored a bunch kind of in the third and fourth quarter.
The first coach that comes to mind is Freeze at Auburn. But I know we were kind of having a little conversation before this, and do you play chess at Auburn with how many SEC, how many high profile jobs are open right now? Do you want to make that fire right now if you're Auburn, or do you want to maybe kick the can down the road? I'm sure that if you do it next year, I'm sure the buyout probably goes down.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that, maybe you're the top job, next year, depending, because of all these high profile jobs that are coming open this year.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point because, there's so many openings coming, and, if it's next year, maybe that you're the best of the best opening, and then that's going to let the, the cream of the crop rise to your school and maybe get a better hire, quote unquote.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Hugh Freeze is, kind of what you were talking about, Napier, a little bit stubborn. I don't like the fact that he always never takes the blame himself. He always puts it back on the players. And he finally pulled Jackson Arnold, but he did the same thing with, I'm drawing a blank on the guy's name, the quarterback before last year, the last 2 years from Michigan State. Because he just would never move away from him. He just kept going back to him. And I think, once Jackson Arnold threw that 56-yard pick six, and then he put in, the guy from Stanford, and he went on to win the game. I think that kind of saved his job for right now, because if he would have lost to Arkansas, he would have been gone probably before Brian Kelly was. But it's certainly an interesting part of college football. Obviously, all these guys want to coach. It's in their DNA. But, to get hired with these huge contracts, knowing you have a huge buyout, of course, you don't want to get fired. But at the end of the day, if you get fired and you get $56 million after you got fired, not too bad of a gig.
No.
It's wild how much money is just floating around. Did Lane Kiffin get an official offer from Florida? I saw something where it was like $13.5 million.
13.5 for either
a
5 or
year.
6 years. I believe, I don't know that anyone can quite say official, but I believe that it is pretty as official as can come out right now.
Yeah.
I've also heard that Jimmy Sexton came back and said it needs to be 15. I don't know for the same amount of years. I don't know how much truth is to kind of either one of those, how official either one of those things are, but I did hear both of those things.
We were talking earlier before the show about Jimmy Sexton and, what a job to have, all the coaches he's represents, all the money he's made from these huge contracts, and also the money he makes from when they get fired and working on his extensions and stuff like that. Probably one of the richest sports figures in America, obviously besides professional athletes and maybe some of these coaches. But yeah, Jimmy Sexton seems to have his hand in everything when it comes to big time coaching and big time hires. And, good for him. He obviously worked himself into that position and, obviously doing a pretty good job with it. We're going to go ahead and get Keith Fleming on the line. It is Tuesday, and we're going to go over, the DFS picks for this week coming up. Just hard to believe the NFL season's about halfway over. Pop these on real quick, and I'll dial them up. Kind of cool. I can use my own phone to do interviews. Hold on real quick. Should probably connect to the Bluetooth first. Effort. There we go.
Hello?
Hey, sorry, the first time I called, I forgot to connect to the Bluetooth, so it just would have been on my phone, and that wouldn't have worked. How are you doing today?
No, I don't think it would.
No.
I'm doing good, but how are you?
Doing good, doing good. I got Coach Stanford in here with me in the studio. He owns Clutch Athletics, where he does a lot of youth development, training, all that cool stuff. So we're just hanging out, talking a little bit about the crazy buyouts of college football right now. And of course, we'll talk to you a little bit about, what's going on in the NFL, and then of course some DFS action for is it week 9 already?
Yeah, it's scary.
It's going by so quick, as it always does. But what do you got for us today, Keith?
Let's start with something that was a very hot topic among nerds like myself who are in the fantasy football community, and that was Rashee Rice worth a 5th or 6th round draft pick, knowing he was going to miss 6 games? I was somebody that said yes. Like, he's been a top 10 wide receiver consistently over his last 9 games of his rookie season. He started out like a man on fire last season before obviously a season-ending injury. And we're only 2 games into his return, and I already feel like I can take a victory lap because last week, the Chiefs ended up blowing out the Raiders, scoring 30 points in 3 quarters. They set all their starters for the 4th. And despite him only running 19 routes, he ended up seeing 10 targets and had 4 inside the 10-yard line, which would rank 11th among wide receivers. This was after 1 game. And then he went out last night, by the way, scored 23.8 points in PPR formats. Then last night he went out, saw another monster game, 25.5 points. He scored already 3 touchdowns this season, and it's going to continue. Number one, because the Chiefs have no run game. They can't run the ball. So no surprise, they are leading the NFL in passes over expectation. And then if you now include these 2 games, Patrick Mahomes, for his career, when targeting Rashee Rice, has a 127.1 passer rating, completing just under 80% of his passes at 79.5%, 9.2 yards per attempt, 11 touchdowns, 1 interception, and 0.41 EPA per dropback, which that's expected points added. Mahomes, that 0.41 EPA per dropback, that would be the 2nd highest, like just the average when he goes towards Rice and targets him. That would be the 2nd highest EPA per play or per dropback of any game in Mahomes' career. So, wow. I mean, he's so valuable. No, he's so valuable to the Chiefs. And I think this offense is only going to get better. Obviously, huge game this week against Buffalo. Potentially, number 1 seed on the line. At worst, probably a number 2 seed on the line. And it's just funny to me that every year we seem to bury the Chiefs. And every year, when you have Patrick Mahomes, when you have Andy Reid, and then more importantly, when they have weapons, which would Worthy and Rice, Kelsey's out there doing, old man stuff, they're going to be in it at the end of the season. They have a really good defense, which is the other thing. They have not spent a lot of capital on players outside of Mahomes and the defense, but they're hitting these draft picks. They hit it with Rashee Rice. They hit it with Xavier Worthy. They have completely rebuilt their offensive line through the draft, which we know that the years that they lose Super Bowls, both the Bucs and Eagles Super Bowl, that's the issue, right? They can't protect Mahomes. That has not been an issue. He's being pressured at the lowest rate in the NFL this year. And if you have Mahomes having time, open receivers,
he finds open receivers better than anybody else in the league. That is for certain.
Yep. He's just the man. So the only thing, there's 2 teams basically potentially preventing the Bills and the Chiefs from being like the number 1 seed in the AFC, and I want to talk a little bit about both of them. I believe I shared this last week. Which one do you want to go first?
Colts.
All right, perfect. That was where I was going. So I think I said last week on the show that the Colts were averaging 3.5 points per possession. That is the highest points per possession this century. Higher than the 07 Pats, higher than the 2018 Chiefs. And then they went out in week 18 and scored 38 points on just 8 drives. And that is including one of those drives, which was a kneel down. Okay. So in reality, I don't think that should count, but it does for the stat though. So they are now close to averaging 4 points per possession. And again, the previous high for a season was 3.15 points. Jonathan Taylor now has 3 games with 3+ touchdowns. He did not have a touchdown the first 2 weeks, which is like impossible to believe when you look at the way he's running now. Daniel Jones is doing a fantastic job leading their
They're going
offense.
to make a documentary about this season in Daniel Jones for sure. The
The
resurgence of
Giants,
Indiana Jones.
I was say, if you need any more evidence that the Giants are just maybe they're like cursed from winning 2 Super Bowls that they probably shouldn't have against
fair.
the New England Patriots in 07 and 2011, because just this season, Malik Neighbors done for the year, another star pass catcher that has torn an ACL on their home turf. Now they lose Cam Scatterbo, who was just
That was brutal
unbelievable
to
this
see.
year. I did
ankle was
not
just
like seeing that
Dangling.
on my Twitter timeline. Yeah, people, can we please not share those kind of things? And then the
That's
Daniel
what Twitter's
Jones
good
deal,
for,
right?
all the
Where,
stuff that they won't show on the media, they put it on Twitter.
right? And Daniel Jones, leaving New York,
Looks like Dan
and
Tom
very
Brady out there.
similar. Well, I mean, to be fair though, last year Saquon Barkley, right,
Yep.
who had not looked good the last couple of years or stayed healthy with the Giants, and then he has 400+ touches and has one of the greatest running back seasons of all time for his new team, the Philadelphia Eagles. So the issue with the Colts is going to be their defense. I don't know when they get it, because they've had a pretty easy schedule. Now they've scored points against Denver, which that's a very good defense. We know that. And they score points against the Rams. Like, they've played well offensively versus teams that have good defenses. The issue is going to be when they play some of these elite offenses, because you can throw all over Indy. They also give up a good bit of yards per carry in the run game. So that is going to ultimately be, it's just going to be, can they outscore people? I do think if they, can get that 1 seed, get the bye, get home field advantage throughout, I'm not going to doubt them anymore. But we're going to find out so much about this team, I believe, this week, because they're going on the road to Pittsburgh, and historically, they just haven't been as good of a team out, side the dome. I mean, most dome teams are that way. The other team, and this just is ridiculous that we're already back to this place, but don't look now. The New England Patriots are rolling. They have the easiest schedule in the NFL rest of season, and their quarterback is otherworldly. Remember that Drake May did not start, I think, the first 8 or 9 games last season, and
Which
now
is
he is
probably a good
extended.
thing.
I would think so, but he's so good it may not matter. But he's extended his streak to 7 consecutive games with a passer rating of 100. The only quarterbacks in the history of the league that have had longer streaks: Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Aaron Rodgers, Lamar Jackson.
Some
And
good
he's
company.
also now had, I would say so, and he's also now surpassed Mahomes and Marino for consecutive games with 100 or plus passer rating and 200+ passing yards that's 23 years or younger. I mean, if you look at it, he's just consistently completing 70% of his passes, throwing for 200+ yards, and doing whatever he wants to do. And the Browns were the 3rd defense he's faced this year that ranks in the top 10 for toughest matchup for quarterbacks. He scored at least 23 fantasy points in all of them. New England now ranks 7th in scoring offense, but of the top 7, they have by far the highest percentage of their touchdowns coming through the air. It's almost 70%. And what's scary about
With a
New
lot of
England,
no-name
and-
receivers too, quote unquote. Guys like Booty. I know they got Stephon Diggs, but they've got a lot of,
Demario Douglas.
Yeah.
Yeah, like guys that nobody's going, wow, that guy's unbelievable. And what's scary for New England, their defense is really good. They have not had one opposing rusher yet this season go over 50+ rushing yards. Christian Gonzalez, they're locked down and one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL. He missed the first 2 games. The only reason their defensive metrics honestly aren't better than they are is because they really did. They gave up a lot of points and yards those first 2 games. If you look the last 5 weeks since he's returned, I mean, New England really has a legit chance to get the #1 seed. And we have seen this time and again with these like transcendent quarterbacks reaching the pinnacle earlier than we think, right? Think about Joe Burrow a few years ago, right? The Cincinnati Bengals were in the Super Bowl. And that's, how good Burrow was. Patrick Mahomes obviously did it literally right off the bat. Once he started, games, he went to the AFC title game and then he won a Super Bowl the next year. It's not out of the realm of possibilities that New England could be competing for a title right now, which should terrify the rest of the NFL because Mike Vrabel is a very good coach, and they were going to eventually put elite weapons around Drake May where you don't have Ramondre Stevenson being your feature back. And to your point, Stephon Diggs coming off a serious injury and entering his 30s as his #1 wide receiver. And that should just be a terrifying prospect for the rest of the NFL. And it's not fair because New England has had so much success since 2000. And it seems like, I think it was, 6 seasons since Brady left. And they already, again, may have the best quarterback. Obviously Allen, Mahomes are much older. Same thing with Lamar, the best young quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Drake Mays obviously came onto the scene like crazy, and that's a good point. I mean, you had all the success, but it kind of makes you go back to, obviously Bill Belichick didn't, really finish out his last few years in New England, and now he's, I don't think he ever should have went to UNC because he just looks really out of place and his team is struggling like crazy. It really makes you think that, the Belichick Brady debate, I think it leans more towards that Brady thing, and here we are now with another quarterback. I'm not saying Drake May is Tom Brady, but the fact that New England has a quarterback that's just doing so well so early on, like you said, it kind of makes it terrifying because what happens when they, maybe make some trades for some higher profile, offensive weapons. And then if they can find some guys in the draft, maybe in some later rounds, because obviously if they finish the season up there pretty high, they'll have a later first round draft pick. But yeah, New England, being in the mix, it's going to be interesting to see how the rest of their season goes, but obviously leading their division up near the top of the AFC. So Keith, let's get your first look at the official lineups here for Week 9's NFL slate in the DFS world.
Absolutely. So for the quarterback position, there's 2 guys that I'm circling. They're playing each other too. It's Daniel Jones. He's 6,200 at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh ranks 31st versus opposing quarterbacks. But again, what did I say? Indy scores a ton of points, putting teams in, heavy pass scripts. So Aaron Rodgers at 5,800 to me is also really appealing. The other name that I do want to mention is Jackson Dart, who I was everywhere, and he was on my cheat sheet this week, touting that Dart reminds me so much of Bo Nix last year, who, remember, ended up as QB8 overall. Early Jalen Hurts with Philadelphia, where not a great quarterback. Like, nobody's really arguing that. But for fantasy, an incredible quarterback. And, I mean, Dart's performances in fantasy, 19.8 points, 18.6 points, 23.6 points, 29.4 points, 19.4 points. He's 5,200. I love to do cash games,
wow.
right? He's 5,200. So every one of those games, he is almost hitting 4x his salary, like from this week, not from the previous weeks. And his salary has basically stayed the same. He scored 19.4 points last week, and his price actually went down from 5,500 to 5,200. So I'm going to find a way to get him into a lot of lineups. Christian McCaffrey really struggled this week, bringing a halt. But don't worry, good things are ahead. They're playing the Giants. We're going back to death taxes and playing CMC and the cash.
The only thing that makes me nervous about that is the stupid field there at MetLife Stadium.
Well, that's fair. That is a fair concern. But remember, I think I said this also last week. Saquon Barkley had not had a rush further than 18 yards all season. In the first quarter, he broke a 65-yard touchdown
right off the get-go.
He had a little hammy injury. Tank Bigsby came in and on 9 carries rushed for 100 yards. This Giants run defense is pathetic. And don't forget, the great thing about CMC is even if it wasn't a pathetic, right, like rush defense, he's caught 7 or more passes in every game but 3 this year. And in 2 of those 3 games, he had 6 receptions. So he is somebody with an extremely safe floor. It's a great matchup. The other guy is, if you think the Bears are going to beat the Cincinnati Bengals, DeAndre Swift at 6,100, I think, is an insane value. This season in wins, he's averaging right at 17 points per game. He's actually now averaging 10 points per in losses, thanks to a pretty good performance last week and a loss to Baltimore. But I mean, we saw the Cincinnati defense, right? Like the Jets' offense had looked terrible. The owner was busy, like saying all kinds of terrible stuff about Justin Fields, and they went out and had 500 yards of total offense. Brees Hall was somebody who, like, he was on, what is like looking for posters, and he rushed for over 100 yards and scored 3 touchdowns. So I would definitely look at him. Again, Rashee
Be
Rice,
tough to be a Bengals
7,600.
fan.
Man, it would be. And I mean, you just also have to wonder, because they've invested so much in Higgins and Chase.
Yep.
No surprise, their offensive line has not improved, and that's why Joe Burrow keeps getting hurt.
And it's not
The
like
wide
that's
receiver
new.
position.
It's been like that since he's been in the league.
Yep.
They haven't ever
It's, I
made
mean,
an
it's a
adjustment
miracle
for it.
they made that Super Bowl, right? Like, it really is. And that was, again, just really his greatness. And unfortunately, he's been injured every year since. But the wide receiver, Rashee Rice, 7,600. Dude's averaging 24.4 points per game in just his
Is he
2
going to be in
games.
every one of your lineups?
Everyone. Like, until he gets over probably about 82, 8,300, I don't care if it's a tough matchup. I don't care who it is. He's just an instant start. And that's going to continue again this week. We went over the stat of, obviously, how crazy he's been. How about my boy Lad McConkey, 6K? He's at Tennessee. Lad is
Speaking of
almost
tough
doing
fan
the
bases.
exact, right? He's doing almost an exact replica of what he did last year, where he started really slow, and then all of a sudden, here comes Lad, who has, oh, by the way, all of a sudden strung together 3 consecutive games with 26 points, 15.7 points, 20.8 points, seeing an unreal 34 targets in that process and catching 22 passes. The Chargers are now the offense that passes more than any offense in the NFL. That's a very good thing. The other guy I just want to mention real quickly is Michael Pittman. He's all the way up to wide receiver 14 on the year. And he is, again, facing a Pittsburgh secondary that, I mean, they cannot stop the pass. Think about Green Bay's passing attack this year, and Jordan Love just threw all over them on Sunday night on his way to over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. Pittman is coming off consecutive games with 9 targets in each. He caught 7 passes or more in each of them. He's now caught a touchdown pass in 5 of his last 6 games. So I love the value in that as well. Tight end this week, Tucker Kraft, man, 5,700. The one thing that I didn't get to talk about that I wanted to when we did our little thing at the beginning is he is now averaging 11.2 yards after the catch per reception. That's the most in the league among any wide receiver tight end. In the last 20 years, the highest yards after the catch averaged by a tight end is 9.9 by George Kittle. That is how far ahead he is of anybody since the beginning of the 2000s. His target share by season, 7% year 1, 15% year 2, 21% year 3, and that has actually been closer to 30% the last 4 games. I guess Green Bay finally realized that they should just throw the ball to a guy that, again, is getting 12 yards almost every time after the reception. I also really like your boy George Kittle this week at 4,800. I think that we saw, he obviously had a bad first game, but they were busy running all over my Atlanta Falcons. Second game, 5 targets, turns into 4 catches, 43 yards, and a touchdown. Again, the Giants' defense is really bad, so I expect him to have a really good game. And then outside of that, Noah Fant is another person that kind of intrigues me. He's 3,300 for Cincy. They're playing Chicago, who ranks 21st. And, we saw Fant was not even getting really targeted early in the season. Since Flacco's been there, he's caught 4 more passes in 2 or 3. He caught 3 passes in the only non-game. He's been averaging over 11 points per game in that stretch. And then for the defense, you know what we always do. We go down and we just basically punt on defense. It is another really tough week to find a defense that you feel comfortable about down in the drums of this. But I think that I'm going to have to go with the Texans 2,900. I'm going to spend up a little bit more than I normally do because I'm not playing Carolina's D. The Saints offense is so bad I can't play their D. The Vikings are playing the Lions. That's not good. Titans are playing the Chargers. That's not good. You could maybe make a case for the Giants, but again, I think that season is going the other way. We saw Cincinnati give up 1,000,000 yards last week, so you got to go all the way up to 2,900. The Texans' defense is the best in football. I mean, I think that's pretty apparent after their performance against you guys on Sunday. Like,
With
I mean,
a lot
they
of
have
guys
just
in the secondary that are, just getting some first-time reps too, which is what's crazy. D'Amico Ryans is such a great defensive coach.
yeah, absolutely. So over their last, they now have had multiple sacks in every game but one this year. The turnovers, they had 1 against the Niners, 4 the week before, 3 the week before that. So they are really turning the ball over, or getting opposing offenses to turn the ball over. Again, you're going to get automatic sacks. It's the reason they're averaging 9.4 fantasy points per game, which for a defense
That's
with
a
only 1
lot.
defensive touchdown, that is a ton, because most teams that have even like 6-7 points or higher, if you look, they've already
You
scored
didn't
2
just
or
say
3
six,
defensive
seven, did
touchdowns.
you?
I might have. What was great was
We'll
on our
forgive
show
you.
a couple of weeks ago, that organically came up. When, Joe Matz, my buddy and co-host, is a teacher, and I said 6 or 7 touches, and he goes, "Did you just say 6-7?" I had no idea what he was talking about.
You
And
don't
then what
really
was
have a
great was the
reason to
South
know what
Park
he's talking about.
episode
Yeah.
came out the next week, and I didn't feel like a moron because I at least understood where the 6-7 was coming from and why South Park was talking about it. I still don't know what it means,
It doesn't mean
but
anything.
I
That's
at
the
least
craziest
understood why it
part.
was a thing.
Yeah, it's not.
Well,
It's
you
not
know.
a thing. It's just somebody said that, and then every kid in the world and some parents say it now all the dang time. Well, Keith, real quick, tell everybody where they can keep up to date with your information throughout the week as it approaches the start of the Week 9 slate, the Sunday
Absolutely.
slate.
So
Anyway.
most of all my stuff, actually, I shouldn't say most, is either at fantasy6pack.net, or you can find me on Twitter/X at Keith Fleming. That's KeithFleming. We record every Tuesday or Wednesday, me and Casey Kasem, the 12 must-know fantasy football stats you should know. A lot of good nuggets. It's usually about a 30-minute show. Friday nights, me and Joe Matz get together and cover, again, on Fantasy Six Pack's YouTube channel, the entire DFS cash game slate for DraftKings. And then Sunday mornings from 11 to usually about 12:30, 11 to 12, we're answering start-sit questions. And then the last 15, 20 minutes, I just go over my final plays for DraftKings cash games. And all 3 of those shows can be found, again, on Fantasy Six Pack's YouTube channel. We'd really appreciate it if, people would subscribe to that. And I appreciate you guys, having me on.
Of course, that start-sit show is probably crucial for a lot of people that are, because we're all torn between who we need to start and who we need to sit every week. So, just to kind of have that information to kind of make you feel like you're making more of an educated decision makes me feel better anyway. So, y'all check out that show if you're looking to decide who to start or who to sit. Again, that's on fantasy6pack.net. Keith, we appreciate your time as always and hope you have a great week.
You too, buddy.
All right.
Take care.
Take care. Bye. That's Keith. He is a data nerd, but that data matters when it comes to being successful on, winning some money in DraftKings, FanDuel, whatever you use. Obviously, they're both legal here in the state of Florida, along with Hard Rock Bet. All right, real quick, I want to talk about some of the local scores from, last week and then what we got coming up today as well. So last Friday, we had Rutherford and Bay. Bay moves to 8-1 with a 65-20 victory over there at Tommy Oliver Stadium. Bozeman won their district with a 35-12 win over North Bay Haven Academy, and then Walton beat Freeport 68-28. Walton now 3-6 on the season, and then Saturday, the North Bay Haven, we already talked about Addie Gorman, our athlete of the week, and how she had 16 kills in the 2 playoff games last week. North Bay Haven beat Wolfson 3-2. That very exciting 5th set, it always goes to 15 points, can be a little nerve-wracking, but North Bay Haven got it done again. That leads to a matchup this afternoon at 6 p.m. Again, they're the number 1 seed in their particular region. I believe this is the region final. Pensacola Catholic is traveling over to the North Bay Haven Bucks gym. Winner of that will move on to, I believe, is it the Final Four after the region final?
I don't know. It all depends on all of the
How many
you know,
are in each particular region? See if I can figure that out real fast and navigate the site. It's not really
FHSA doesn't like to make anything
no simple
straightforward.
or easy for sure. But yes, big game. So get out and watch those girls. 6 p.m. if you're looking at something fun to do on a Tuesday evening. Go support those ladies who have worked so hard all season and have having obviously the most successful volleyball season of any high school here in our county. Now this is yes, the regional finals. So that'll move on to winner of this game will go to the state semifinals.
Nice.
I don't know where they are. So obviously North Bay Haven has a really good chance if they can beat Pensacola Catholic to move on to the Final Four. And I can't remember the last time we had a volleyball team move on to the Final Four. It might have been Mosley when we
when they
had
won.
Coach Mask on a month or so ago, and the historic, comeback win that they had to move to the championship game. So we look forward to seeing if North Bay Haven can kind of get down there as well. But yeah, again, that's at 6 p.m. over there in the Bucks gym. And then we've got some soccer starting as well. You've got the Rutherford Rams girls team traveling over to Mike Gavlak Stadium to take on the Arnold Marlins girls soccer team. I know we had Coach Jonah, the men's coach, on last week. I know their season really doesn't get started until another week or so, but it's about that time. I'm excited to watch some Mosley soccer as well. I had the pleasure of being the assistant coach of the girls soccer team last year when they went back-to-back county championship, but there were so many good players on that team that are now with Mosley. I always mention it. Don't forget the name Ziona Bell.
Yeah.
She is an absolute superstar when it comes to soccer, and she is now a Mosley Dolphin. So I expect, Mosley with all these, Cheney Humphreys also on that team as well. Just these really amazing soccer players have now all made it over there to Mosley. And some of those Mosley players were former UA players too. So now they're all kind of coming back together. So we'll keep you posted on the Mosley Dolphins soccer team throughout the season as well. Want to mention too the Arnold boys. I appreciate Dana Hagan keeping me updated on the boys golf team over there at Arnold. They competed in the district championship yesterday, and they ended up finishing second with a 317. That is the FHSA 2A District 1 boys tournament. South Walton ended up winning the tournament. Doesn't matter if you win or runner up, you're still moving on to the next round. South Walton had a 307. For reference, even par is, I believe, 288 because you got 4 that count, 5 that play. Arnold shot a 317 with Ethan McGregor leading the way with a 75. Brady Lent from Arnold also had a 76. Shout out to Cade Denicky as well from Mosley. He had a 77. Mosley ended up with a 350. So they were about 23 shots out of, second place. But South Walton and Arnold will move on to the 2A region tournament. Winner of that, or winner and runner-up of that, will move on to the 2A state final. That's always played down there at Howie at the Hills. And then, of course, there's some at-large bids as well for 4 teams and 4 individuals that didn't make it by qualifying first or second. So, in my opinion, how good of a season Arnold's had is even if they don't finish first or second in the 2A regional tournament, they might get an at-large bid as well. But pretty cool to see how good of a season, Arnold is doing. We'll have their head coach, Luke, on with us on Thursday. The former coach, Jay Henley, and now the current coach, Luke, I don't know his last name, will be with us on Thursday. So excited to see that. Coach, I'm going to finish the show with somebody I knew sent me a little conspiracy theory stuff about, maybe one of your most hated football teams, the Florida State Seminoles. I'm just going to kind of say what he said. I have a conspiracy for you. There is a mutiny or coup going on at FSU. It never really crossed my mind until the Stanford game. He's like, do you know the story of the Chicago Black Sox? Which that was back in the day when people were paying those players to basically tank the game So the first play of the Stanford FSU game, the offense gets a delay of game. Not very common on the first play of the game. They said that was the tipping point. That was them tipping their hat that they were in. Only 2 people touched the ball 100% of every offensive play. And I don't think Castellanos is in on it. But the center, coached by Herb Hand, who followed Malzahn from UCF, controls the snap on every play. Now, this is a deep dive tinfoil hat conspiracy, but Malzahn, Herb Hand are positioning themselves to take over. Also, Tony White, the defensive coordinator. Team played lights out on defense for 3 games. Past 4 games, defense couldn't stop a nosebleed. This gentleman's an FSU fan as well. I don't know where or if he fits in, but it is curious. So could you see something like that happening from inside of Florida State as well? You kind of hear that
It's funny.
a lot of the players say that Norvell's lost the team, and a lot of players don't really want him there anymore.
That's funny. I will say it's Georgia hate week, and we don't live in, or FSU doesn't live in Florida's head quite as much as Florida lives in FSU's head. A little dig there, but
It's fair.
it is. It's funny.
I mean, in a world where we live in conspiracy theories
Yeah.
all the time, where most of them actually do end up becoming true.
It'll be interesting having that in the back of your head and watching FSU going forward.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, it's when you bring in someone who's had a strong coaching career to be your offensive coordinator and things go a little bit south, that person might think they could do the job better. I know that they've had a long history together, Norvell and Gus. So I don't know that to be true because, like I said, they do have a long history. They have,
And I really don't think that Malzahn wants to be a head coach again.
Yeah.
That's why he took the OC job. But again, you never really know what's going on behind the scenes.
right. So it would, like I said, it'll be interesting to have that in the back of your head and kind of watch the FSU games moving forward and kind of see if you can see any of those nuggets.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Coach, one more time, tell us about Clutch Athletics and how people can get their child involved in some great personal training, some programming, all the stuff that can make your kid a better athlete.
Yeah, whether it's our homeschool PE program or our strength and agility training after school or online program, we have Tuesdays and Thursdays. We have 2 homeschool sessions, that 9:30, that 1 p.m. session, and then our after school session Tuesday and Thursday, 3:45 to 4:45. And then, like I said, we do have some limited slots for either some small group team sessions or personal training. And then, as always, if you can't make those times, can't make those little windows that I might have, the online course is a really good option to where, you're paying one monthly payment and it could be your whole team that's involved in doing the workouts together. It's always good. It brings the team closer together when you can struggle together, sweat together, kind of, go through
Absolutely.
some difficulty together and come out on the other side. It's gonna build your team. Make them closer, and when it's late in the 4th quarter, in the 6th, 7th inning, whatever your sport is, knowing that person beside you's got your back because y'all have struggled together. So it's a good thing not only for
Great point.
physically but mentally as well, to kind of to come be a part of Clutch Athletics, no matter what platform it is.
Absolutely. Go check out Clutch Athletics. Coach Stanford does a fantastic job. He's got a lot of good people around him as well.
Absolutely.
Coach, appreciate you coming on today. Episode 21 will be on Thursday. We'll have Jay Henley and the head coach of the Arnold Marlins boys golf team. One more time, shout out to Addie Gorman. She was our American Charlie Athlete of the Week. Wins herself a $50 gift card to American Charlie. Y'all have a great rest of your Tuesday. Good luck, North Bay Haven Bucks, in your region final game today. Hopefully you can make a trip to the Final Four. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Come tomorrow, the final version will be up on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. It'll be on there. Again, all you got to do is search Inside Drive. And we appreciate if you'd subscribe as well. Y'all have a great rest of your Tuesday. We'll see you on Thursday.